Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day, and I hope your rest of the day is as amazing as it's always been. How many of you know what collaborative learning is? And do you prefer learning alone or do you prefer learning as a team, growing as a team? I hope a lot of you would like to study as a team because then you would get to share your points. You would get to hear what someone else thinks of your views. And that is what we're going to focus on today. Last time we came alive, you saw that how Sushil sir talked about his journey from a soldier to an educator and how he collaborated with none other than Jagesh sir and how they formed something as amazing as TTST, which transformed to TTOT. They sowed the seeds of these fundamental things that are required to learn. And starting off was collaborative learning or community building. So, today in this live, we will talk about community building and how it can benefit you as an individual and why is it important in today's generation. So, let's welcome on board none other than Brigadier Sushil Bhasin sir and Jogesh sir. Thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much. Yeah.
So I'm very happy to be here with Jogesh, my very good friend, my mentee, my collaborator, and right now even an advisor. I take a lot of advice from him, and wherever he gets stuck, I have old ideas. So when I want new ideas to come, I take Jogesh's ideas. And let me tell you, he comes out with just fantastic ideas, and I'm very happy with that. So now, when we are talking about this collaborative learning, let me take you back to 2016, 2015, 16. In those days, there was nothing being talked about community learning. There was nothing, but nobody was talking about it. And when I started with TTST, Train the Super Trainer, and there's a story which I shared last time, and we will share the link of the last video on YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever you want to see, so that if you missed it, it'll be a good thing to go and catch up with what we are talking about. Now, what happened was, and of course, there is a story of what happened when I went to Singapore and I heard Tony Robbins, and from there, the idea came up that why don't I, instead of becoming a good trainer, start building trainers so that they carry my legacy, whatever I have learned and experienced in the last so many years, we can pass it on to them and they will continue spreading my messages. So that means I have prolonged my life. So I always tell people I am going to live 1,000 years because my unfinished tasks are going to be done by my students. And I'm very proud that it's already happening and happening in a big way, right? I also believe in something called die empty. And Jogesh came up one day and he said, Sir, do you know the wealthiest place on this planet? I said, What? So I thought he would say New York, he would say Paris or something. And he said, No, it's the graveyard where people dump all their experiences and knowledge and go away. So we don't want to leave anything in the graveyard. We want to distribute it before we reach there. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is such a pleasure to be here today to share some of our thoughts, some of our feelings, because this community building that we started in 2016, and when I started my first TTST batch, and we have Jogesh from that batch, and we are going to invite some of our TTST alumni to come and say if what do they think of the collaborative learning, the community learning that we are talking about. And before we go further, just a little on community learning was an idea that instead of just learning on your own one to one, like a teacher in a class teaches, and it is a one to many. So it is a download of information. It is a one-way communication generally. And at the best, it can be two ways if the teacher is willing to answer questions. It can be two-way. But we are talking of a multi-channel communication where it is not from the teacher to the taught and from the taught to the teacher, but it's also from taught to the taught. Okay, and then when they learn from each other, it really multiplies, and it is not imaginable how the entire thing boomerangs. Okay, so that is what we have been doing. So when we started, we said, okay, let's build this TTST community. And Jugesh will remember, and we are soon going to ask Benita to come in, and Benita will also remember this part, that we said TTST is going to be a community. And I told them, when we have the second batch, the third batch, the fourth batch, we are going to join them up, and they will form together a common bondage that they all belong to TTST. And we had some nice badges, and Jogesh still very, very proudly displays that certificate that he got, and he also had a badge, and all of them had a badge which said TTST. And we have some of our TTST people who, whenever I meet them, I see they are very proudly display their badges on their lapel pins, on their lapels. So that is what it was. And then it somewhere it went down. It went down. And that is where I blame myself, because I gave up. So I had a administrative backup, a team which used to work for my backend. And that team, the main lady there had to move off to Sweden. And with that, the team got a little broken. And I didn't have the courage that time. And that's my lesson learned, that you should not give up. But I did, and then I stopped TTST till the COVID came, and Jogesh came up to me and said, "So why not take our TTST spirit ahead and do something for the online training?" And this he told me in the month of March, exactly a year ago. And then we took March and April to brainstorm, work out a structure, and on the 8th of May last year, we launched our first TTOT program. So I want to ask Jogesh and take the story from there, that what happened when we took on the TTOT. Okay, and just before we ask Jogesh to talk about TTOT, can we get Benita to talk about? Can I see Benita? Is she there? I can't see Benita. Maybe she.
I think it was a journey started on the army grounds to then you become an educator, then
Okay.
TTST came
So
in, TTOT came in, and you just kept building a community which kept growing as the day passed on. Each day you
Sure.
had a new member adding, and that member contributed a lot to your community.
yeah. So I can't see Benita there. So maybe Jogesh can continue.
Sure. So the idea behind community building was that in the digital world right now, each trainer, coach, or knowledge giver, so as to call, is building their communities, and everyone is kind of having a group of learner where they are kind of getting into creating a community of learners from their online platforms, offline platforms, and stuff. And by April, May, I already had a community in my employability domain as well, where I had learners who are into mid career professionals, where I was kind of helping them to build their career. And I said, okay, now that is definitely something that I'm doing. But if with the help of Brigadier Sir, we are able to enable such communities for more people, more trainers, it will be a ripple effect of learning that was done to me to many such trainers. And that's what I reached out to Sir, and we kind of started with this amazing journey to build TTOT as a community. And happy to have almost 80 to 90 of them together in last almost 1 year, where they themselves are now going to build their own communities of learners for themselves. One of the thing which I feel, and maybe if you're watching to us from different platforms, let me know which niche, which domain are you leading your own communities into. The traditional form of training coaching was where you always wait for one assignment to another assignment, to now You're building a community where you continuously nurture them to learn something new from you. And that's a big shift that has happened because of COVID. What do you think about it, sir?
Absolutely.
According
And
to the World Health
when
Organization,
COVID
the
happened,
exact cause
there
of
were
the
no
current outbreak
opportunities.
of
And we had to, because those opportunities were not there, we had to take the support of technology. And not many people were used to Zoom and all that. But I somehow feel very happy that in my prediction, in my foresight, even in 2016 in TTST, I used to do a session called Integrated Holistic Training, where I used to talk about various aspects of training, and we were talking about using the platform of technology and say, that time Zoom was not so well known, so we used to talk about Skype and other things and say, how can you reach out to people electronically? Okay. And I used to tell people that I'm going to prepare myself for my old age when I'll not be able to do outbound training. And, as it is, my knees were giving trouble. So I said, I'm going to be preparing to sit in front of a laptop and sitting with my tie and my shirt and maybe shorts and chappals below and be prepared from the comfort of my home to disseminate knowledge when we can. Yeah, so I see Benita has joined in, and I certainly would like to have Benita come and tell us a little bit about her experience of TTST as a community. And how are we? So, welcome, Benita.
Thank you so much for having me, sir. I think it goes without saying that you're doing an outstanding job. You've been an inspiration all along, and you've created a community where giving is just a part of the culture, sharing is just a part of the culture. And I love what you've built here. And that's the reason I wanted to kind of take a minute here to thank you for it, and to thank Jogesh also, because even he's played a wonderful role. Jogesh, I'm very proud of how far you've come along. I know the kind of risks you've taken to reach where you've reached. So I've seen that journey, and I'm very, very proud to call you my friend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's
Um,
a pleasure.
so one of the things that I love that you've done as a community building process is this aspect of culture that you've brought in, which is how how it's not only okay, but it's also expected that you share and you build in and you add value. Unfortunately, TTOT, I've not been able to contribute as much as I would like to, and indirectly, it's all thanks to you, because I've gotten busy with my work life, and that leaves me with very limited time to contribute as much as I would like to. But I'm more than happy to step in at any time anybody needs. I'm just a phone call away, just a shout out away, and I'll step in and help. So, how can I add value today? Please let me know.
Okay, so firstly, tell us something about your experience of the community part of it. That in the last 4 years after TTST finished, how did the
Okay.
community help you? If you can have some cases of how somebody in the community, not me and
Hmm.
Jogesh, but anyone else, I mean, who supported you and how it was like one to one helping
Okay,
each
great.
other.
Great. So I think one of the best examples I can give is in context of my book launch. Okay. Yes, the book was published by CNBC. Yes, it was unveiled at Harvard. But end of the day, if it wasn't marketed well enough, then it would not have brought in the kind of impact it has. And one of the aspects of marketing that was very important to us was also the podcast bit, which is where Jyoti, who wasn't even my classmate, she was just a part of the TTST community, she stepped in and she said, I'd like to interview you and your co author and do a podcast around it. She had a series of podcasts running. The podcast was gaining popularity. So it kind of worked from a synergy perspective. Of course, it worked well. It was a win-win situation for both of us, but it wouldn't have been possible if it weren't for TTST. And so to that extent, I feel that it's the community aspect of it that came into play. And that's a real simple but very powerful example of how it helped us.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And another thing I like to add is that when we did this TTST, I used to tell people you've learned how to do it, but you haven't done it. And we always believe that doing is important than just knowing. Okay,
Yes.
and action takers are the one who succeed. So there was an offering, and I used to say whenever I go for a training, I will invite anyone who's available to come and co-facilitate with me, so that you get a complete chance of seeing how a training is done. And they were allowed to photograph, to take notes, to take videos, whatever they wanted to, so that they could use my experience and do those activities and all that. So I've had many people who have gone. So once Jugesh went with me to Goa for a 2 days program of an Israeli company. We've had Mahinder Thakur, who has come with me for at least 5 6 programs, including. And I used to say, I'm not going to pay you, you're not going to pay me, because I'm going to teach you and you are going to get benefited. Okay. But when I took Mahinder Thakur last year in 2019, I took him to Udaipur for a college training for 3 days. That was the time I said, now we have grown to a level where you are going to add value and you're going to take independent sessions. And he first time got paid by me as well. So this is the way we were building up each other.
And I'm witness to everything that you're saying. We've seen this happen. Sir would put it into the group that I'm doing this training. I have an opportunity for one person, two volunteers. You would call in for volunteers, and depending on who spoke to you and how the conversation went, I've witnessed how beautifully you've done it. It was always very generous, very giving. So it was beautiful to even watch it. And in some ways, it inspired, and we've had our own set of people who we've worked with, and it's kind of built that culture of somebody asks. I have my own communities around training, even though I've almost exited training as a fraternity. I still have communities where we have one group which is called videos for training, where somebody will say, I need a video on team building. Somebody else will throw in a video. Somebody will say, I want to know if there is a story. So we've got a group which is called Stories for Training. And if you want a story, so people are proactively sharing stories in that group, wherein these are stories you can narrate in a training program. The moral of the stories are discussed. So we've created those kind of communities as well. And I would say it's inspired by Sir. It's inspired, and it's really blooming well, and it pays off in a way that if there's a training opportunity, then people share those opportunities as well. My domain is social media. I may not want to take up a training on team building anymore, even though I can. But given the conversation around niche that we had, I've stopped doing programs on team building. And if it's a program on team building, I would put it in the group and say, hey, here's an opportunity. Somebody wants to take it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Benita, for your very valuable inputs.
My
Yeah,
pleasure.
Raji, you to take it on from here.
We've talked about live examples of how your existing communities have helped you or how you created your communities. But what, according to you, is an ideal community learning? That these are some little aspects that are very important in community learning. What are those, according to you?
Yeah, Jugesh, please carry on.
Sure, sir. I would like to kind of answer from a uh, little different perspective. For example, let me give you an example of the community that I have got on the employability front. It just started with one person enrolling into my program and trusting the vision and the school of thought that I, as a trainer, was about to share. And that went on to me having 2000 plus learners in that community right now. But it begins with just one person getting started. So, starting small is very important. And at the same time, having a vision around what kind of journey would you like them to experience, like what is the journey you want to take them on to. And that has to be very clear for a person who is just wanting to build that community. Take small steps, have small wins on the go, but remember the bigger purpose behind it. Now, for example, for me, the vision of making India employable has been on the forefront always, which means if you look at the larger umbrella, it is making India employable. And now everyone who's joining me is aligned with that bigger purpose of these three words of making India employable. And these three words are not just words, but it's the vision and mission in itself. And all of them who are joining the community are also not only aware but also aligned with it, right? So that's how you take small steps, remember the end goal, the bigger mission, and start celebrating small wins on the go, right? So you would like to add your flavor to what I just shared.
Yeah. So you see now, Sam Cawthon, who's one of my mentors right now, he says, "Be faithful to the small, the big will follow." Be faithful to the small. Even if you have two people, be so faithful, give them value, and those two people will start giving value to others. So what we learned was, we learned from TTST as a community. We learned from Jogesh's employability as a make India employable. That was a community, and we put those two experiences together to carve out a beautiful community of TTOT, which has 96 people. And as of now, we are running the fifth batch. And when they join up, we would be having approximately 20 more people added to the community in the next 2 weeks. Now, this is something that the TTOT program is contributing to trainers who come forward with their ideas, with their experiences. They share with each other. And what I have on the screen, it is, we keep repeating this almost every time. I think in any session, I remind people: co-creation, collaboration, and contribution. If this is happening, then automatically we are co-elevating everyone. So that means the focus is not on what am I going to get. The focus is not on what I can do. The focus is how can I add value to you, and how can I help you add value to your people, so that there is a cascading effect, so that there is a multiplying effect, and that multiplication is a geometrical progression. It is not an arithmetical progression. And this is something which I'm very happy to say that in the TTOT you can feel that, that sense coming up, and that is what we are very very happy about. Yeah.
I think, sir, the major thing about community learning is that you learn not only from the mentor but also from each other. As an individual speaking, I might, मुझे डर लगेगा आपसे एक क्वेश्चन पूछने में, बिकॉज आई वुड थिंक यार ये मेरे मेंटर हैं, क्या मैं इनसे इतने इजीली जाके क्वेश्चन पूछ सकती हूँ, हाउ विल ही थिंक ऑफ मी, बट आई बी मोर ओपन एंड आई बी इट बी easy for me to ask someone, a person that is close to me or is on the same platform as me. And that is not possible until and unless our mentor has created that team, or our mentor has given that right to us कि आप लोग एक साथ काम करो. You collaborate with each other, you work for each other, you work with each other, and at the end of the day, the results that come out are also for you guys. Until unless it's started from the mentor, I don't think the triangle of this, communication or this collaboration will be completed.
So, viewers, let me say a little about Rajvi. Now, Rajvi may be sounding very, very wise and very knowledgeable and all that. But can you believe that this girl is just 17 years young? So we have something common. I'm 70 years young and she's 17 years young. Okay. Now, this girl is not here invited. Okay, she's a good anchor. So, Rajvi, can you come and be our anchor? No, it's not that. She's a part of our community. And at the moment, she is doing the TTOT 5 batch. And now, Rajvi, forget about your being an anchor right now. Tell me, as a participant of TTOT 5, when you are in the middle of now, these are the two crucial weeks, and you are in the day 3 of a challenge today. Just give the viewers a little idea of what is happening in your groups, and what is the community doing, and what is happening in your team. So just for viewers, there are 3 teams: A, B, and C, and Rajvi is from team A. So let's see what is happening in her team A. Yeah.
So I think I'm blessed to have such amazing people in my team. Firstly, our team is just like always on a run. We know that we're always pushing each other. I remember that if one of us hasn't done something, there'll be all of us will be messaging, "Ma'am, karo ye, aap karo, sir, aap kar sakte ho." That push that keeps coming from each other, and we're always so ready that we're like, okay, सुशील सर का मैसेज आ गया, जोगेश सर का मैसेज आया, दिस इज देयर मैसेज फॉर अस, यू नो वी हैव टू नाउ एक्ट अकॉर्डिंगली, and within minutes things are done. There are times that one of us feel that okay, we're not able to do it, we have too much on the plate today, and it's getting tiring for me, I don't think I'll be able to do it. The other people will stand up and say that okay, I'll do it for you, I'll help you do it. I'll push along. You do this part, I'll do this part. Together, it'll come out like this. So I think it's very important to have those people around you, that daily push that is given towards that you can do it, you have to do it. And it's not about who wins at the end of the day, it's just about you getting your work out there. And I don't think I would have been that encouraged to even put a daily video or to put a daily quote until and unless this would have started. I remember Niti ma'am, she's our team leader, and she keeps messaging every day, well done team, you did well today. For tomorrow, let's have our sleeves rolled up again. This is what we're going to do tomorrow. We are going to win it again, or we have this to do, you know? So these little words of encouragement or these little push, I think they help you a lot as an individual to grow.
Absolutely. And just to add to what just Sir shared, if you're someone who's an educator into a tech community, which is speaker, trainer, educator, coach, consultant, and if you're someone who is really into a traditional mode of training, which is more from waiting for assignments to come from corporate or waiting for assignments to come from vendors, this is big time and high time to start building your community. Start small, and it's not that you don't do the assignments that you get, but you do that along with building communities. So communities like is you know long term ongoing process of learning and sharing, while assignments are like a 1 day or a 1 week or a 2 days engagements. And if you are wanting to build that community there for yourself, start small. Identify that first student today who would be keen to take learning from you, and start building and putting them together in one of the groups. And I preferably, like, this is something which I've discovered. Facebook also believes in building meaningful communities, and they promote a lot, and that's one of the core reason they've started Facebook. And they promote all the community creators on Facebook. Like, I get personally a lot of invitation to attend their master classes, seminars, and summits for different Facebook, where different experts and people who are building communities come together. And what do you mean by that is you're creating a group of Facebook, and you're nurturing that group on a regular basis. Then Facebook observes you and starts sending you those invitations. So if you're someone who is wanting to elevate your learning on building communities as well, start building your Facebook communities of learners. That's a little nugget for all of you who are just on the verge of thinking and thinking and thinking, and you needed that nudge to get started. This was for you.
Beautiful. I think very well said. See, I also want to stress something that when we are talking about, uh, Yogesh, your noise, please.
Sure.
Okay. So when we are talking about collaborative learning, and yesterday in the TTOT community, we were talking about uh, masterminding, and the whole idea is, can collective wisdom become a common wisdom? That means it's not my idea alone; it becomes a community's idea. And there are a couple of things that you have to look at. One is the trust factor. Do we trust each other in the community? And it is not that, oh, he'll take away my client, or he will get come into limelight. The focus is never on me. The focus is on the community. The focus is on co-elevation. And this may sound to many people, it could be like, it could be absolutely uh, theoretical. You may say, how can that happen? But when you start getting that feeling that everyone is helping the other person, supporting the other person, giving ideas, telling them what they can do which will work for them, introduce them to certain clients, introduce them to some people. For example, now in the community, there were some people who wanted help in terms of social media. And quickly, 4 or 5 people said, you can try this agency, you can try this, you can try this intern. If this is the budget, you can do that. That means there was information flowing freely, and then people who have tried out, and you're getting that information. Now that is the power of trust, communication, and confidence in each other. And that is what we are talking about. You see, when we talk about very many learning communities today, most people are talking about that a collaborative community, the way they learn from each other, and particularly like in TTOT, we believe in making people do it. There's an action lab, and the action lab is one of our main strong points. That is the USP, that people have uh, the practical lessons that they learn by doing it. And when they do it, they make videos, they make their content, then people help them with feedback on that content. And that is where we bring about a lot of value for each other. And this is what we are talking about. This is
From
what we are talking
feedback,
about.
I think all of us, when we post our work in the action lab, we wait. We wait that when Jogesh sir and Sushil sir will see our content and we'll get the remarks. Be it good, be it bad. But that, that थर्स्ट इज दैट कि सर कब हमारा काम देखेंगे और हमें कब पता चलेगा कि यार कौन सी डायरेक्शन में चलना है. आई थिंक दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज एज अ कम्युनिटी यू लर्न दैट ओके दीज आर माई बैड पॉइंट्स, दीज आर माई गुड पॉइंट्स, एंड द नेक्स्ट पोस्ट people change it. They want to learn and they want to grow and they want to climb up those stairs. One word that has come up again and again is collaboration and collaborative learning. So don't you think that when there are too many people, there are of course there's so many views and then there's so many ideas. So doesn't it get chaotic, or doesn't it get, that which one to listen to, which one to not listen to? How do you manage a collaborative learning like that?
Oh wow, that's a beautiful question, and I've had this question from a lot of people. And let me take a dig at that. See, in a collaborative learning, in whether you're doing a mastermind or you're doing community learning, one thing is very critical, and that is that you cannot allow it to be chaotic. There has to be a structure, but now structure cannot be rigid. So we are not in a classroom training. So the facilitator has a very important role to play to balance out structure and chaos. Structure and chaos. You allow a free environment where people learn from each other. You encourage trust. You encourage communications, but you don't put people into a compartment where they feel that they have open space, they're liberalized. And when that happens, the learning is multiplied many times. You see, it's a learning environment. I don't know how many people focus on this thing called the learning environment. Now, if I was what we are doing right now, between all three of us and some visitors who we had, like Vanita. Now, uh, when we are talking, imagine that we had 4 videos put up on YouTube, and you could get the same content. That will not be as engaging, as impactful, because we created a learning environment, and we talk about a safe learning environment, which means we create an environment in which you are not exposed to public, so you are within your own community, and you're vulnerable, and you're okay to have mistakes. And what Rajvi is talking about, waiting for me or Jogesh to give you comments, no, it is more that you should be looking for comments from each other as well. Okay, so that is where the community learning is, that somebody who's made a good video, and you see another person's video and you say, hey, that's not engaging enough, or that was too long, or can you make it short, or can you add some music to it. So those are the type of things which are happening in a cross learning environment. And I think it is powerful. It is now, I think it's something like bicycle. I can tell you how to ride a bicycle, but till you do it, you'll not know it. No matter what I tell you, I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you sit on the saddle of a cycle and then divide 50% weight on the left and right. It shouldn't be 49, it should not be 51. And then I tell you that, okay, now you'll put your 2 feet on the paddles, and whichever paddle is on top, push it down, and the other one will come up. And you keep doing this till the bike starts running. Will you be able to learn a bicycle like this? You have to do it till you get that balance and you say, ah, got it. So doing is the thing, and we emphasize a lot on that. When you do it, you get into challenges, you overcome them by asking people, they help you out. Just like when you were doing a riding your bicycle, you were falling down, you asked your parents, your friends to hold it from behind till you got the balance, and then you could do it on your own. Similarly, this is experiential learning, and we encourage that. And what I can say with a lot of pride is that we've created this type of an environment both in TTST and in TTOT, and we have revived TTST. Even if, I told you that there was a little drop, but now when people see, for example, now we have one gentleman called Mahinder Thakur. Now I've stopped doing parenting workshops. I've done plenty of them. Now, if there's anyone who's talking about parenting workshop, then I will say go to Mahinder Thakur, go to Abha. The 2, 3 of my students who are doing parenting, depending on where the need is, I will pass it on to them, because I'm not doing it. So why not give somebody else a chance? And why not people who come to me still get the best? So this is the way we are going ahead with collaborative learning, with experiential learning, and with value to the community. And all the time the focus is there. And we keep reminding, we remind people that you have to be absolutely focused on the learning environment. So this is important.
So, the collaborative learning, the action labs, all of them, they teach us everything. And of course, right now they're at a stage where everything is running smoothly. But of course, when you would have started community learning, I mean, you would have just tried getting people along, it would have been tough. Nothing comes without any challenges, and nothing comes without any, stones thrown at you. So, what were your biggest challenges when you started building the community?
So let's have Jogesh take on this. I think, yeah.
Can you come again on the question?
What were your biggest challenges that you faced when you started building the communities that are running amazingly today?
So one of the biggest challenge is the challenge of consistency. You see, all of us will begin building communities, but as you go along, what happens is you lose out on the momentum. Okay, and like in my community itself, which I'm building for employability as a subject, I've been doing it, but what is happening is in between there are some of the speed breakers that you will have because of some or the other reason that you might have. So one of the biggest challenges is the momentum of the community, and hence it is important to understand the vision and mission behind building that community. If you're just in the business of selling online courses, then you will lose out very soon. But if you're in the business of building meaningful communities, you will have a longest stint with this task of building communities. So your inputs there.
Yeah, so very much. We all face challenges, and challenges come from where belief systems and habits and self discipline, these three things are not aligned to the community's vision and mission. Now, the moment you have the belief system change, then people start learning the advantages of community learning and they experience that, then they start changing their behaviors. They start trusting other people, and then they see how their ideas shared with them also get other people sharing their ideas with them. So we need to have a very strong sense of values that are brought into a community, and the facilitator needs to keep encouraging people who are following them, and probably nudging people who are lacking in that, so that in the community we bring about that spirit, and that spirit of helping each other. Like in the army, we go for war, we go with the spirit of the battalion. जो हमारा नारा होता है, we call it the slogan, or we call it the war cry. Now when you go with that war cry and you say pole sone hal, and that is enough to give you that we need to do it together. So what is it? It is some message, it is some idea that makes us work together. And we've had Prabha Lal, and she's a naval officer, a commander who just retired, and she's just signed up for the next TTOT 6, which comes up in June. So she's talking of Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is a very, very good collaborative concept from Africa. And in this area where Ubuntu came up from, was that everyone understood the societal advantage and were not looking at individuals. So that's a very thank you, Prabha, for sharing that. Okay, go ahead, Rajesh.
Before we close this down and before we wind up, the last thing is very important, I think, that we all should know is that how does community learning and how does collaborative learning shape you as an individual, and how does that help you become a better version of you?
Obviously, when you see things happening around you, you see now, without naming anyone, we have in our TTOT community right now people who have written books. There's a community book. Can you imagine that 8 authors get together and say, let's write a book? And that happened in TTOT 1, and TTOT said, oh, they wrote a book, why don't we do it? So another book came up. So we have two books which are TTOT properties, I'll say, or TTOT creations. Not property, I'll say creations. Right? Now, similarly, we've had two, three of them, and you see on the screen Archana Vadhusudan, for example. Now, she's an educator, and the way she has shaped up now, the way she conducts interviews, and we have more people like Abha and all. They run. There's Dr. Halima. There is Kalpana. The people, Kalpana has come out with a world community of ACF, it's called, where artists are all getting together. And I was called there for their Founders Day meeting or whatever. They launched that program. I was so happy to see, and I had not realized that a poet, a singer, sculptor, technology creator, a technology creative guy, they can all get together and form a community of artists. And the jugalbandi, the type of mixing, the type of togetherness in different forms of art, I had never imagined that. It really came to me as a very pleasant surprise, and I think it's very good. And Archana on the screen there, you see her, is is also a part of that community, and she was anchoring that show that day, and she did a beautiful job. Okay, so that is what we are talking about. Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it just makes you a better you, and you know that you are now just going to grow and grow the next time. So we have you back on screen. Would you like to share that how, according to you, does community learning and community building and collaborative learning make one individual as a better person or gets helps them become a better version of themselves?
One of the things that I've learned very early in the second career, which is starting off with training and coaching in 2016, Dr. Atreya shared with me a beautiful concept which I want to share here. That how can community learning shape up, and that formula is very well applied in community learning. It's called as the rule of 33%. Now, Dr. Atreya, who's written more than 30 books, he's founder of various management associations across India. He said, Yogesh, apply the rule of 33% to any goal, and you will definitely get faster in your accomplishment of that. And he said, rule of 33% is one third of your time should be spent with people who are ahead of you. One third of your time should be with the people who are with you, and one third with people who are behind you, so that you know where you are heading, so that you know what's the competition and you know what's coming in. And when you are part of a community, you get entire equation that way. There are people who are ahead of you in that same journey. There are people on the similar lines, and there are people who are coming behind, you're fresher to you than who you are, right? And since 2016, that's one thing that I've been continuously doing. For an example, right now I'm authoring another book which is called as Think Like a CEO. And there the objective is to reach out to all CEOs and build a network of them. That in itself is helping me to elevate myself and put myself into a new circle which I've never been earlier. Right? So that's where the community learning will help.
I think that was an amazing example. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Before we wind up, our viewers, do you have any questions or any queries that you want to be answered? So, do we have any questions popping in?
I don't see them.
That is
I've
fine.
just asked Archana if she can join us and give her views. So, Archana, just see in your WhatsApp, you've got the link and join us for a minute or so and tell us something about what you have learned from community learning in TTOD. In the meantime, if there are any questions, we'll be very happy to answer them. And if you see on the screen, I just wrote something. The best thing that happens in a community is that the focus turns from me to you. And all the time, the community, everyone in the community is looking at how can I add value to the community. So, and that selflessness, that stealing the show or dominating the limelight, that goes away, and that is a very very powerful, very satisfying feeling, and that is what we are all the time attempting to create. And I feel very happy that we have been able to do it in quite a way.
So I think the equation changes from I, me, myself to you, us, and our team. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that just it just changes. The dynamics change, and you just learn how to work with each other. You learn how to grow. And I've also realized that when you're working with the team, you learn different perspectives of different viewpoints of your work. A lot of the times you wouldn't even think that okay, my work can be perceived like this, but every new person would have a different point of view or different I don't know, different perspective of how you are working. I think those little perspectives also help you open your mind and think more that okay, if my work can be perceived in this way, maybe the next time I can do it in a much better way so that more people can understand it, or more people understand it in the way I'm trying to deliver my message. And your audience increases. I think everything just doubles up then.
Absolutely.
Do we have any questions popping in till then?
No, I don't think so. So I think we could now uh, end the conversation with the hope that we have added some value to all of you to understand the community's advantages and the safe learning environment that a community creates, and keep following us on TTOT because the next program comes up in June. Until then, we are working to add as much value we can to the existing community so that they can really benefit from the whole community.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone that has been with us, watching us live. I think it was great that we all had this conversation, and I hope our viewers learned. I think they took up some tips and bits from this lesson. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very
Take care.
much.
Yeah.